Hey guys, welcome to Unbiased Rugby. So I'm going to be talking about Springbok Los Pumas game that had played yesterday. Sorry if I'm seeming a little bit flat, because I am kind of flat. I stayed up very late and super disappointed, and then I couldn't go to sleep, so I had to watch TV till 2 o'clock in the morning just to try chill. So it's a little bit frustrating, just to say the least. But first off, before I even start with my video, generally I'm mainly going to talk about the Boks, because obviously it's my team and I have skin in that game. I just want to say congratulations to Los Pumas and the Argentinians. They thoroughly deserved that win. They were the better team on the day by a long way. They scored all their points in the first half, and they were able to keep the Boks out until the end. I think the scores were a little bit higher than Durban, but I think the points difference was identical. So I think from a points difference point of view, I think on the log they're both sitting on 0. But yeah, from that victory, Argentina have jumped from 10th to 9th spot ahead of Fiji in the world rankings, which is great, because Argentina is back in touch with all the other Tier 1 nations, which I think is perfect. I think they've got the right coach. They had the right mentality on the day, and if I look at the team of the week, most of them will be made up of Argentinian forwards. I'm not saying that their backs were phenomenal. Sanchez, I think that's their scrum half, fly half. I think it's Sanchez. I could be wrong. I don't have the team sheet in front of me. Played exceptionally well. But yeah, I just want to say congratulations again. It's a well deserved victory for Los Pumas. But now I'm going to get to the real depressing news and talk about the Springboks. I was completely floored. I was watching the game, and I got through the first half, and then I realised I didn't have my cap on, so I went to go get my cap, thinking that putting on a cap is going to change the outcome of the game. Didn't seem to work. They did up the tempo a little bit, but it just didn't seem to happen. It's okay to be a physical side, but you've got to have some kind of creativity with the physicality, and all that we're doing, the forwards were coming around the corner, bashing into the line. It's so easy to defend against that. It's one-off runners, and if the one runner gets through, then he gets isolated and there's a turnover. So frustrating from that point of view that none of the forwards stepped up. I think the replacement forwards did okay. So I think Steven Kitshoff brought some impetus to the game. Peter Steff, I don't understand why he didn't start. I like Franco Mostert, but I think Peter Steff had an exceptional game when he came onto the field. I think outclassed brought in some impetus. I think going forward, if we want to play a forwards dominated physical game, we need a lot more depth in our forwards, because looking from week to week, both props were tired. The Beast and Malherbe, they were exceptionally tired. I think Frans Malherbe was on his knees at one point. I think Nick Mallet pointed it out how tired he was, and I think they should have maybe said to the guys, 40 minutes, we're going to change it, just like he said, or actually have had Vilcolo and Kitshoff start the game. But yeah, we need to sort that out. Also, I think Siaklisi had a good game as a player. I think he played really well. I just don't think he had a really good game as a captain. I don't think he read the ref really well. I see there's a lot of talk about the bad calls that the ref made. I also picked up a few, but I'm not complaining about them. At the end of the day, you take your chances when they come, and it is what it is. We didn't lose that game because there were a few bad calls from the ref. We lost that game because we played badly, and that's just the bottom line. There was absolutely no structure in the back line. Esterhuizen had a few carries. I think he did make team of the week from a points point of view, but from a brilliance kind of point of view, no, he didn't at all. there's just something missing. I don't know what to say. I just think we can't buy a victory away from home. I'm trying to think of the last victory we had away from home. I think it was against Italy. It was last year, and they were talking about it on the television. Last year we only won 20% of our away games. Only 20%. That's atrocious. And I don't want to be known as a side that only wins home games. That South Africa's only strong, or the Springboks are only strong at home. That's. I don't know. I don't even know what to say. Generally, I'm one of the more positive Springbok supporters, and I know. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again. 3rd year in a row, we're in a building phase. Flipping hell, I'm tired. I'm tired of saying that. Sorry, guys, if I'm feeling a little bit dejected, because I really am. I look at the background makeup, and Willie Leroux just had an absolute shocker of a game. Andre Pollard didn't control the game at all. Faf had moments of brilliance, but you've got to be surrounded by other players that are taking the load, and your position 9 is directly related to your 8 and your 10. So it's I don't know. The wingers didn't have a great day. Look on your arm didn't have a great day. I've been doing a lot of reading, and I try to do a talk on Mondays with Oracle Rugby, and we were trying to bring up topics for the new week, and I was going to suggest a topic of players that we need to get back in South Africa. World-class players that we need to get back. I know we've got Dwayne Vermeulen back, and I hear that there's been a call now sent out from Rassi to Kubota Spears in Japan that they want Dwayne Vermeulen back for a game against New Zealand. But at the end of the day, one person doesn't make a team. Yes, Dwayne Vermeulen, I still think he's probably one of the top 5 rugby players playing currently on the moment. From a skill point of view, from pure in his kind of position. A few other players that I could think of. I don't understand why Jesse Creel wasn't playing. I know last year he didn't have, but he had such a great Super Rugby season. His lines have improved so much, and he's physical specimen of a player, and he's not scared to go into contact. But look, I know he's injured at the moment, but I'd say the player we need to bring back to South Africa, we need to buy him out of the top 14 for our back line. We need him back in Super Rugby. We need Jan Serfontein. No ifs, ands or buts. We need Jan Serfontein back to bring us that. I rate Jan Serfontein on the same kind of level as Ryan Crotty. He's that kind of player. He's X-factor player. We need him back playing in South Africa. Not playing for the Springboks, but plying his trade in France. We need him back in South Africa. And there's a few other players that I can think of that I don't know how they're going to find the money, but we need to bring them back into Super Rugby. Sorry guys, this video is going to be quite long, but I'm venting. I'm super venting. It's I don't know. I just don't know. I was watching. I read an article from Nigel Owens, and he was talking about what the game he thought was the best game he'd ever reffed, and it was the 2013 game between New Zealand and the Springboks. So I found it on YouTube, and I started watching the game. And what I found was amazing was I was looking at all the South African players, and I was just trying to think the only player that I could see that was still playing today for the Springboks, Dwayne Vermeulen, Flo was there, Francois Lowe. I did see Eben Etzebeth. Yeah, that was probably and Jan Serfontein. I think Jan Serfontein was playing, or was it more? No, I don't think Jan Serfontein. Whoever. Okay. Then I looked at the New Zealand side, and there was Brodie Retallick, Sam Whitelock. I think Kieran Reader was playing, but not at 8th man. Dane Coles, Bona Barrett was on the bench. Ben Smith. I think Sonny Bill Williams was playing. So I looked at that, and I saw all these players that are still in New Zealand, and I looked at all our players who are playing their trade overseas. And look, I'm not gonna get into the fact that You know, these guys earn a lot more money in France or in the UK than they'd ever earn in South Africa. It's a given. We can't compete with money again for these players. So I don't know what the solution is for that. It's going to be money driven. But some of the top players are X-factor players. You know, I'm talking, not that they had good games this weekend, but I mean our top X-factor players: Michael Marks, Ibn Etzebeth, Jan Serfontein, Dwayne Vermeulen. I mean world breakers. Those are the world breakers that need to be back in South Africa. We don't have a proper scrum half. The only one that we have is Faf, and I don't know why he's playing overseas. Fullback, I don't know how much longer Willie Leroux is going to be playing for South Africa. I think there's some young kids coming through that would take that position to another level, and it's a pity that Warwick Kallant is not playing at the moment, because he had learned so much from Willie Leroux. So yeah, I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. You know, I think, but it's like a knock-on effect. You know, we're battling to keep our players at Super Rugby level, so there's very little competition for the players making it to the Springboks, so we don't end up having that depth at players. And we're looking at 10 for New Zealand: Bowden Barrett, Mwanga, Mackenzie can play there. Lima Sapawonga is playing overseas now. But how many players do they have just at 10? 9. You got Aaron Smith, TJ Perenara, and I cannot pronounce the third guy's name. I'm not gonna call him what Steve Hansen called him, but I can't pronounce it. But I'm sure you know the player. We got Sonny Bill Williams, Ryan Crotty, Lamape. I'm trying to think of other players that could fill in that kind of position. Then we've got Ben Smith, is absolutely amazing. You've got Ben Smith, Geordie Barrett, then after Mackenzie. So you've got all this depth, but it's not about the depth. It's about these players playing for the different franchises and making the team better. Look, I think I'm waffling now, so I'm just going to get back to the game. So yeah, only standout performance of the day was Peter Steff. For the day, I think Sia Khaleesi had a good game as a player, a terrible day as a captain. We didn't understand the ref's calls, so we didn't adjust to the refs, the way that the ref was reffing, and that's an important part as being captain, is that you have to understand how the ref works, and that's the job of the captain, is to work with the ref, is to see how the calls are going and start adjusting on the field according to how the ref sees the game. Because, you know, it was an interesting thing they said, you know, we have rugby laws, not rules. So laws can be interpreted. So that's the nature of rugby. It's an interpreted game. It's interpreted by the ref, how he sees it happening at scrum time, how he sees at lineouts. So it's how he sees the game, and it's about looking at how the ref is reffing the game and adjusting your game accordingly. And instead of getting pissed off about it and saying, well, it's not happening our way, because that's just like a 3-year-old throwing toys out the cot. It's about seeing how the ref plays the game, adjusting to it, and then moving on. So yeah, I'm not gonna carry on waffling on about this. All I can say is I'm terribly disappointed. Look, I know I'll just need a few more sleeps, and by next weekend, by the 8th, I'll believe that the Springboks will beat Australia, because that's just the way how I'm made up. But I'm terribly disappointed. It was a completely forgettable performance, and what pisses me off the most is, you know, rugby, you can only view rugby on paid channels. In South Africa, there's only one paid channel that we can watch it on, SuperSport, and SuperSport's only available on their top package. So talking over 900 Rand with extra views and stuff like that, because we have to have it. You're talking 1,000 Rand. So it's 1,000 Rand a month that I have to spend just to watch the games. let alone buying caps and jerseys, and then I spend maybe 20 hours a week watching games, reading news articles, making videos, and I just sit back and I think, jeepers, you know, I take a vested interest in supporting my team, a completely vested interest. No matter how down and out they are, I'm there, the first person to support them, and then we have a performance like that. And you know, I sometimes think, oh no, I shouldn't be so harsh. I shouldn't be so harsh. You know, so I'm a programmer. I program web apps and things like that. And if a client came to me, or I was working for a client, and I gave them a substandard product, or I just didn't pitch up for the day, then I wouldn't be paid. You know, I'd be fired. They'd find somebody else to replace me, and that's the way it is. That's being a professional. So being a professional is, if I say I'm going to finish it on that day, I finish it on that day. That's just the way. That's how professionalism works. And I don't see why, as rugby players, is any different. And if they're not performing, find the people to perform. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. But listen, guys, please put your comments down below. I'm sorry if I've waffled, or if I've made people a little bit depressed. I'm just feeling a little bit depressed, and I just felt like venting. So yeah, all I can say is that at least Rusty at the end of the game said there was nothing that he could take from that game that was positive, and he accepted responsibility for it. And we would never have had that from any other coach before this. You just accept responsibility for what's going. But we're in round 2, and it looks like the All Blacks have sealed the tournament, barring an act of God or whatever. I don't see them not winning this tournament. But once again, I have to say congratulations to Los Pumas. They had the determination, the grit, and everything to be able to win and beat the Boks convincingly, absolutely convincingly. But listen, guys, please put your comments down below of what you thought of the game. Standout plays for you from both sides. Where do you think the Boks should go from here? Where do you think Argentina on the rise? You know, I think they are, and I have a very, very good feeling that they're going to go past France before the end of this championship. I have a feeling they're going to beat Australia at home. But yeah, please put your comments down below, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'm going to be doing a video with Gordon a little bit later on the All Blacks, and that might be a little bit nicer. But I also want to say, because I don't want to mar that video with this one, I say, you know, I don't want to go through life enjoying a rugby game by only watching the All Blacks play, and I don't want to go through life like that. I want to go through life watching games where the Springboks are great. So yeah, that's it for me for today. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday, and I'll chat to you guys in the new week. Cheers, man. Bye.